Imagine possessing unimaginable power. Millions obey your command. Armies march at your order. The wealth of an empire rests beneath your authority. Every door opens before you. Every voice seeks your approval. To the world, you have everything. Yet every morning, before the empire awakens, you sit alone. Not to plan another conquest, not to count your victories, but to prepare your own mind. This was the life of Marcus Aurelius. History remembers him as a Roman emperor, but perhaps his greatest achievement had nothing to do with Rome. He ruled one of the most powerful empires the world had ever seen. Yet he believed that ruling others was far easier than ruling yourself. Think about that for a moment. A man capable of commanding countless soldiers understood that the hardest battle was the one inside his own mind. Every day brought new burdens. Wars stretched across distant frontiers. Disease spread through the empire. Trusted people disappointed him. The weight of leadership never disappeared. Yet amid uncertainty, Marcus returned to the same practice. He wrote, not for fame, not for history, not for readers. He wrote to remind himself how to think. Those private reflections would one day become Meditations, one of the most influential books ever written. What makes those writings remarkable is not their elegance, it is their honesty. They are not the words of a man pretending to be fearless. They are the words of someone constantly training himself to rise above fear. Marcus never claimed that life would become easy. He never promised that suffering could be avoided. Instead, he asked a different question. If hardship is unavoidable, who will you become because of it? That question echoes across nearly 2,000 years, because despite all our modern technology, the human struggle remains the same. We still lose people we love. We still face disappointment. We still encounter failure. We still wrestle with fear, anger, doubt, and uncertainty. The world has changed. Human nature has not. This is why the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius still speaks to millions of people today, not because he offers easy answers, but because he understood the deepest battle every human being must fight. The battle between impulse and discipline, between emotion and reason, between comfort and duty. Most people spend their lives trying to control the world around them. Marcus chose a different path. He believed that true strength begins when you learn to govern the only thing that truly belongs to you, your own mind. That idea sounds simple, yet it may be one of the most difficult lessons a person can ever learn, because every day, life presents us with events beyond our control. Other people's opinions, unexpected failures, broken plans, unfair circumstances. The question is never whether these things will happen. They will. The real question is, who do you become when they do? Marcus Aurelius believed the answer to that question determines the quality of your entire life. But to understand his greatest secret, we must first understand the invisible enemy he spent a lifetime trying to defeat. It was not an invading army. It was not disease. It was not betrayal. It was something every one of us carries within ourselves. Every empire has its enemies. Some stand beyond its borders. Others rise from within. Marcus Aurelius understood that the same was true of the human mind. Long before he faced an invading army, he faced something far more dangerous: his own thoughts. Most people spend their lives believing their greatest obstacles exist outside themselves. Difficult people, unfair circumstances, bad luck, a lack of opportunity. Marcus saw the world differently. He believed that events themselves possess no power until the mind gives them meaning. Two people can face the same hardship. One is broken by it, the other is strengthened by it. The difference is rarely the event. It is the interpretation. Imagine standing before a mirror. If the glass is covered with dust, you don't blame your reflection. You clean the mirror. Marcus believed the mind works the same way. Anger, fear, pride, envy. These emotions cover our judgment like dust upon glass. They make reality appear distorted. Not because reality has changed, but because our perception has. This is why he constantly reminded himself to examine his own thoughts before judging the world. Most people react first and think later. Marcus trained himself to reverse that order. Someone insults you. Anger demands an immediate response. Fear demands retreat. Pride demands revenge. But Marcus asked a different question. Is this reaction helping me or controlling me? That single question changes everything. Because the moment you begin observing your thoughts, instead of obeying them, you reclaim your freedom. Consider a rider holding the reins of a powerful horse. The horse is strong, fast, full of energy, but without guidance, its strength becomes danger. The human mind is much the same. Emotion gives it power. Reason gives it direction. Without direction, even great intelligence can destroy itself. Marcus never believed that emotions should disappear. They are part of being human. Fear warns us. Grief reminds us that we have loved. Joy gives life meaning. Anger can reveal that something is unjust. But emotions were never meant to become our rulers. They are visitors, not kings. The moment emotion takes the throne, judgment begins to fall. This is why Marcus returned, again and again, to one powerful truth. You cannot always choose what happens, but you can always choose how you respond. That idea is simple, yet it demands a lifetime of practice. Because every day, the world tests us. A careless word, an unexpected failure, a delayed opportunity, a betrayal, a loss. Each one asks the same question. Will you surrender to the moment, or will you govern your own mind? This is why Marcus Aurelius never searched for a life without hardship. He searched for a mind that hardship could not corrupt. He understood that no army could defeat a person who refused to abandon their principles, because true mental strength is not measured by how little you suffer. It is measured by how wisely you respond when suffering arrives. Yet this raises another question. If mastering the mind was Marcus Aurelius's greatest strength, how did he train it? Day after day, the answer was hidden. In the private journal, he never intended the world to read. There is something extraordinary about the most famous book ever written by a Roman emperor. It was never meant to be published. Marcus Aurelius did not write to impress the world. He wrote to discipline his own mind. Every page was a conversation with himself, a reminder of the person he was trying to become. Imagine ending every day by looking into a mirror, not to examine your face, but to examine your character, asking yourself, where did I lose my patience? Where did pride control me? Where did fear speak louder than reason? This was the purpose of meditations. It was not a diary of events. It was a record of self-improvement. Marcus understood that before you can improve your life, you must first observe your own mind. Most people watch the world. Marcus watched his thoughts because he believed every action begins as an idea, every habit begins as a decision, and every life begins with the stories we tell ourselves. If those stories are filled with excuses, fear grows stronger. If they are filled with purpose, character grows stronger. This is why Marcus guarded his inner dialogue more carefully than most people guard their possessions. He knew that the mind is always listening. Imagine planting a garden. Every day, seeds fall into the soil. Some become flowers, others become weeds. The soil does not choose. It simply grows whatever is planted. The human mind works the same way. Every repeated thought takes root. Repeat gratitude, and gratitude grows. Repeat resentment, and resentment spreads. Repeat courage, and courage becomes familiar. Repeat fear, and fear quietly becomes your identity. Marcus understood that mental strength is not built by one heroic act. It is built through daily conversations with yourself, quiet moments that no one else will ever see. This is why, even with unlimited power, he never stopped correcting his own thinking, because he believed the greatest victory was not defeating an enemy, it was defeating a destructive thought before it became a destructive action. That lesson may be even more important today than it was in ancient Rome. Every hour, modern life competes for your attention. Headlines, notifications, endless opinions, endless comparisons. Every voice wants to shape the way you think. Marcus reminds us that if we do not choose our own thoughts, someone else will choose them for us. That is why he returned again and again to the same practice. Observe the mind, correct the mind, strengthen the mind, because the quality of your thoughts quietly becomes the quality of your life. But these ideas were not created in times of comfort. They were forged in the middle of suffering. And it was suffering that revealed the true strength of Marcus Aurelius. Imagine ruling an empire. At the very moment it begins to break apart, war erupts on distant frontiers, thousands of soldiers fall, entire regions demand protection. Then disease spreads, not through one city, but across the empire. Families lose loved ones, trade weakens, fear grows. The emperor is expected to remain steady. This was not a thought experiment, it was the reality Marcus Aurelius faced during his reign. The Antonine Plague swept through the Roman world. Historians believe millions may have died. At the same time, Rome fought costly wars. Resources were strained. Political tensions rose. The burden of leadership became relentless. And yet, Marcus continued writing, not because life was peaceful, but because it was not. This is what makes his philosophy so remarkable. He did not develop Stoicism from the safety of a quiet room. He developed it while carrying the weight of an empire. Anyone can speak about patience when nothing tests them. Anyone can speak about courage when there is no danger. Anyone can speak about calmness when life is easy. Marcus faced something harder. He had to practice those virtues when every reason for fear was present. Imagine a tree growing in perfect conditions. No strong winds, no storms, no resistance. It may grow quickly, but its roots remain shallow. Now imagine another tree. Winds bend it, storms shake it, seasons challenge it. It grows more slowly, but its roots reach deeper. Marcus Aurelius became that second tree. Suffering forced his roots downward. Every hardship became a test. Every loss became a lesson. Every setback became an opportunity to strengthen the mind. This does not mean he enjoyed suffering. The Stoics never glorified pain. They simply recognized that pain can become a teacher. Marcus understood that we cannot always choose our circumstances, but we can choose whether those circumstances make us bitter or better. That distinction changed his life. When plague spread through the empire, he focused on his duty. When war demanded sacrifice, he focused on his duty. When grief and disappointment appeared, he focused on his duty, not because he felt no emotion, but because he believed purpose must remain stronger than emotion. This is one of the most misunderstood aspects of mental strength. Strong people are not people who never feel pain. They are people who refuse to let pain decide who they become. Think about a blacksmith. Steel enters the fire. The heat is intense. The pressure is relentless. Yet the fire does not destroy the steel. It reveals what the steel can become. Life often works the same way. The challenge you are facing may not be there to break you. It may be there to reveal the strength you have not yet discovered. Marcus Aurelius understood this. That is why his writings do not sound like the words of a victim. They sound like the words of a man who decided that hardship would become his training ground. And perhaps that is his greatest lesson. We spend so much time asking, why is this happening to me? Marcus asked a different question. How can I use this to become stronger? That question transformed suffering, not into something pleasant, but into something meaningful. And in a world that constantly seeks comfort, that mindset has become increasingly rare, because today, The battle is no longer fought on Roman frontiers, it is fought inside the modern mind, a mind surrounded by distractions, comparison, and endless noise, which is why the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius may be more relevant now than it was 2,000 years ago. Imagine Marcus Aurelius walking through the modern world, a world where thousands of voices compete for your attention every single day, a world where silence has become rare and distraction has become normal. He would recognize the struggle immediately, not because the world is the same, but because the human mind is. 2,000 years have passed. Our cities have changed. Our technology has changed. Our lifestyles have changed. But the battle inside the human mind remains exactly the same. Fear still exists. Anger still exists. Envy still exists. Pride still exists. The only difference is that today, they travel faster than ever before. Every notification demands your attention. Every headline demands your emotion. Every opinion demands your reaction. Before you realize it, your mind is no longer your own. It belongs to whatever captures your attention next. Marcus Aurelius warned that the mind becomes what it repeatedly focuses on. That lesson has never been more important. Imagine carrying a cup filled to the very edge. Every distraction adds another drop. Every argument, another drop. Every comparison, another drop. Every unnecessary worry, another drop. Eventually, the cup overflows, not because of one great burden, but because of countless small ones. This is how many people live today. Physically present, mentally exhausted, surrounded by information, yet starving for wisdom, constantly connected, yet increasingly disconnected from themselves. Marcus believed that peace is not found by controlling the world. It is found by controlling your attention, because attention is the doorway to your thoughts, and your thoughts shape your character. Think about comparison. It has become one of the greatest thieves of modern life. Every day, we are invited to measure our lives against carefully selected moments from someone else's. Success appears effortless, happiness appears constant, wealth appears immediate, but appearances are not reality. Marcus Aurelius understood that comparing yourself to others is another way of surrendering control of your own mind. Your responsibility is not to live another person's life. It is to live your own, with wisdom, integrity, and purpose. Another challenge defines our age. We have become uncomfortable with silence. Every empty moment must be filled. Music, videos, messages, endless scrolling. Yet it is often in silence that clarity is born. Marcus spent time alone with his thoughts, not because he escaped responsibility, but because he knew a distracted mind cannot lead even itself. The greatest luxury today is not wealth. It is an undisturbed mind, a mind that chooses what deserves its attention, a mind that refuses to be controlled by every passing emotion, a mind that remains steady in a world designed to keep it restless. This is why the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius has survived for nearly 2,000 years, because every generation faces the same question. Will you allow the world to shape your mind, or will you shape your own? The answer determines far more than your thoughts. It determines the person you become. But understanding these principles is only the beginning. The real transformation begins when they become daily practice. So, how did Marcus Aurelius turn philosophy into unshakable mental strength? The answer was found in the habits he repeated every single day. Wisdom is not built by reading great ideas. It is built by living them. Marcus Aurelius understood that philosophy was never meant to remain on the page. It was meant to shape the person. Reading the page every sunrise brought new uncertainty, new responsibilities, new challenges. Yet before he attempted to govern an empire, he prepared to govern himself, because he knew that no one can consistently lead others without first leading their own mind. His practice was surprisingly simple. When difficulty appeared, he did not ask, "Why is this happening?" he asked, "What is my duty now?" That single question changed everything. It shifted his attention away from complaint and toward action, away from fear and toward responsibility. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm. You cannot command the wind. You cannot stop the rain. You cannot calm the sea. But you can choose how firmly you hold the wheel. Life works the same way. There will always be storms beyond your control. But there is always one thing that remains yours, your response. Marcus believed that every challenge was an opportunity to strengthen that response. Every insult was an opportunity to practice patience. Every setback was an opportunity to practice resilience. Every disappointment was an opportunity to practice self-control. He refused to waste suffering because every hardship could become a lesson. Think about an archer preparing to release an arrow. The archer cannot command the wind. He cannot move the target. He cannot control every circumstance, but he can master his stance, his focus, and his release. Marcus lived by the same principle. Focus completely on what belongs to you. Release what does not. This is not weakness, it is freedom. Because the moment you stop fighting what cannot be changed, you gain the strength to improve what can. Mental strength is not found in controlling life. It is found in controlling yourself. This is why Marcus returned again and again to his own thoughts. Every day, he reminded himself to speak honestly, to act justly, to remain humble, to perform his duty without seeking applause. Because character does not grow through occasional acts of greatness. It grows through ordinary actions, repeated faithfully. A single act of discipline changes very little. A lifetime of discipline changes everything. The same is true of courage, integrity, patience, and wisdom. They are not gifts given to a fortunate few. They are habits built one decision at a time. This is why Marcus Aurelius never searched for an easier life. He searched for a stronger character because he understood that circumstances will always change. Wealth can disappear, power can fade, reputation can be lost, but a disciplined mind remains, even when everything else is taken away. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson he leaves us. Mental strength is not something you discover. It is something you practice quietly, daily, decision by decision, until one day the storms that once shook your life no longer shake your mind. But there is one final truth, greater than every habit, every principle, and every lesson. The strongest person is not the one who never falls. It is the one who remains unshakable, no matter how often life tries to move them. There is a mountain that has stood for thousands of years. Storms have struck it, seasons have changed it, empires have risen and fallen beneath its shadow. Yet the mountain remains, not because it has never faced the storm, but because it was built to endure it. Marcus Aurelius believed the human mind could become the same, not untouched by hardship, but unmoved by whatever hardship brings. Most people misunderstand mental strength. They imagine it means never feeling fear, never feeling sadness, never feeling doubt. But Marcus knew that emotions are part of being human. Even the strongest soul feels pain. Even the wisest mind faces uncertainty. Mental strength is not the absence of emotion. It is the refusal to let emotion become your master. Imagine standing on the shore, watching the ocean. The waves never stop. Some are gentle, others are violent. But beneath the surface, the deep water remains calm. Marcus believed the mind should become like those deep waters. Thoughts may rise, emotions may appear, circumstances may change, but your character remained steady. This is why he never searched for a world without chaos. He searched for an inner peace that chaos could not disturb. Every insult was a chance to practice patience. Every failure was a chance to practice resilience. Every disappointment was a chance to strengthen character. While others asked, "Why is life so difficult?" Marcus asked, "How can difficulty make me wiser?" That single shift changed everything, because when hardship becomes your teacher, nothing is wasted. Every challenge leaves you stronger. Every setback leaves you wiser. Every obstacle leaves you more prepared for the next one. Imagine a sword forged in fire, heated, hammered, folded, again and again. Without the fire, it remains ordinary metal. Without the pressure, it never becomes strong enough to fulfill its purpose. Human character is forged in the same way. Comfort rarely creates greatness. Challenge does. Marcus Aurelius understood that every difficult season offers two choices. You can allow it to make you bitter, or you can allow it to make you better. The event does not decide. Your response does. This is the quiet power of Stoicism. It teaches that freedom does not begin when life becomes easier. Freedom begins when your peace no longer depends on what happens around you. It depends on what happens within you. That is why a calm mind is one of the greatest forms of strength. It cannot be bought. It cannot be borrowed. It cannot be given. It must be earned through discipline, through patience, through countless decisions made when no one is watching. Marcus Aurelius never became unforgettable because he ruled Rome. He became unforgettable because he proved that the greatest victory a person can achieve is mastery over themselves. And perhaps that is the lesson our world needs most. You may never wear a crown. You may never command an empire, but every single day you are entrusted with something far more important, the rule of your own mind. And when that mind remains steady in a world that constantly tries to shake it, you discover the kind of strength that no circumstance can ever take away. Which leaves one final question. If the greatest empire Marcus Aurelius ever ruled was the one within himself, then what is the greatest kingdom you have yet to conquer? History remembers Marcus Aurelius as the Emperor of Rome, a ruler whose name survived long after the empire itself began to fade. But perhaps history remembers the wrong victory, because the greatest empire Marcus Aurelius ever ruled was never Rome. It was his own mind. Kingdoms rise, kingdoms fall. Wealth is gained, wealth is lost, power changes hands, time reshapes every civilization, but character endures. It is the only possession that cannot be taken without your permission. Marcus understood that every sunrise presented the same choice. Will I be ruled by anger or by wisdom, by fear or by courage, by comfort or by duty? Those questions never disappeared. They simply returned every single day, because mental strength is not one extraordinary decision. It is thousands of ordinary decisions made consistently. It is choosing patience when anger feels easier. It is choosing honesty when deception offers comfort. It is choosing discipline when no one is watching. It is choosing purpose when distraction calls your name. This is how a strong mind is built, quietly, gradually, almost invisibly, until one day you realize the challenges that once controlled you no longer possess that power. The storms still arrive, but they no longer determine your direction. The world still changes, but your principles remain. People may doubt you. Circumstances may test you. Life may surprise you. Yet none of these things can defeat a person who has learned to govern themselves. That is the legacy Marcus Aurelius left behind, not a promise of an easier life, but an invitation to become stronger than your circumstances, to stop searching for perfect conditions, and start building a mind that remains steady in every condition, because the greatest victories are rarely celebrated by the world. They happen in silence, in the moment. You choose patience instead of anger, discipline instead of temptation, responsibility instead of excuses. Those victories never make headlines, yet they shape every meaningful life. Years from now, people may forget what you owned. They may forget what position you held. They may even forget what you accomplished. But the person you become will echo through every life you touch. That is your true legacy. So, as you leave today, remember this: you do not need to rule an empire to live like Marcus Aurelius. You only need to rule the one kingdom that has always been yours, your own mind, because every thought becomes an action. Every action becomes a habit. Every habit becomes character, and character becomes destiny. Comfort whispers, duty calls, character decides.